Hi guys, it's Ali from Ali Knits, and today I wanted to introduce my latest pattern to you, the Typewriter Shawl. So this shawl is a little bit different from what you might expect. It is an asymmetrical shawl, but the real magic is in how I knitted it. So instead of using traditional knit, 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 turn around, knit, knit, knit method, I developed a technique called the typewriter method where you knit 3 skeins at a time. You'll cast on all 3 of them, and then you'll grab one strand and knit it to the end of the row, and then you slide all of your stitches back to the beginning, come back for strand 2, knit that one to the end of the row, slide all your stitches back to the beginning, come back for strand 3, and then knit that one back to the end of the row. And only once you've knitted all 3 strands to the end do you turn your work, and then you'll knit them back again. And what that does is it produces this really cool technique where you have your 3 colors running through here, and then all 3 of them knitting back simultaneously. And it gives it this really cool lofty fabric on the inside, as well as this beautiful texture on the outside. And it also creates a bit of a color illusion. So for example, whichever color you knit first is going to be the dominant color that you see, and whichever color you knit with last is going to sort of create this shadow effect, almost like a miragey color. It also creates this really warm fabric. So these ridges, while being lofty on the inside, hold a lot of heat in between. Not only that, but the wrong side also looks incredible. I really like it. It gives this sort of ribbed effect, and it's really pretty. So yeah, in summary, this creates a fabric that's got a lot of texture, a lot of depth of color, and it's really rhythmic to knit. And the backward and forward motion feels a lot like typing on a typewriter, which is exactly where the name comes from. So for this particular project, I used Imagine Wool's Portuguese yarn, and it honestly couldn't have been a better match for this technique. Firstly, I think it reminds me of a seashell, which I really like, especially with the shape. Portuguese wool has a natural loft and texture and structure that really helps the color and the yarn to stand out, while still feeling soft and breathable. Because the stitches shift and layer over each other in this pattern, you want a yarn that holds shape and shows its depth, which this yarn definitely does. It's also a real joy to work with. It's grippy enough to feel secure while still holding the depth and color of the stitches. I have prepared a tutorial on how to make this sweater, and I'm going to go into that next. So I have picked these 3 colors here from Imagine the Portuguese Wool. It is really nice because why? It's 100% Portuguese wool. If you don't know anything about Portuguese wool, it's one of the most ancient yarn fibers known to man. It's centuries old. But what I like the most about it is that the gray flecks in here are actually natural. So that's what the little sheepy looked like, and they just added some dye to the yarn in a variegated fashion, and that's what it looks like all spun up. So these are actually the natural shades of the sheep, and then it's got the brown tint, or in some cases I think they deepen the gray here, but that actually might be the natural color of the sheep as well. So we like that a lot about it. It's a non-superwash. This is a sports weight. Another thing about Portuguese yarn is it feels a little bit more rustic than it actually is. So the fiber here feels quite natural and unprocessed, very organic, which it is. But once you block it, it softens so dramatically. It's really a beautiful yarn. Comes in all of these colors here. I've picked this one, and I believe this one over here. It recommends a needle 3 to 5. but we're going to use a 4 for this project. So you're going to have 3 balls of yarn. The project can be versatile in terms of how much yardage each yarn has, because we're literally just going to knit out what we've got and then stop when it's the right time to cast off. But this particular one, if you're interested, is 168 meters for 50 grams. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to grab a line of each ball. You're going to line them up, and we're going to cast on 2 stitches. We're going to go into the first stitch. We're going to select color A. So I want my color A to be the lightest color. We're going to cast on 1 stitch, and then we're going to knit 3 stitches. So we'll knit our casted on stitch, and then we'll knit these 2 stitches here. Here comes why the stitch technique is called the typewriter method. So instead of flipping, we don't do that. We slide our needles all the way back to the beginning. Now we're going to choose color B, and I want that to be my color B. We're going to cast on 1 new stitch. And now we're going to knit this color all the way to the end. When we get to the end, we just want to give these stitches here a little tug and tighten them up a little bit. And now we're going to come in with color C, and we're going to cast on a new stitch. And now we're going to knit this row back. Give it a little tug at the end. And now that we've knitted all 3 colors back, we now turn the needles around and we grab all 3 of them again, and we knit all 3 colors all the way to the end again. Important to note that we didn't cast on a new stitch for this row. And then we just basically repeat that process over and over and over again. So we go for color A, we cast on a new stitch, and we knit all these stitches back to the end of the row. Slide the needles back again, grab color B, cast on a new stitch, knit to the end of the row, give it a little tug, slide our needle, color B or red C, cast on a new stitch, knit to the end of the row, give these stitches a little tug, and now we can turn it around and knit all 3 colors back again without casting on any new stitches. Alright, we're going to rinse and repeat that over and over again. I'm going to do a few rows and then I'll come back and show you how this looks. Okay, so now I've knitted out quite a few rows. You can see here that's how much yarn I still have left, and that's quite a lot of yarn. So this is going to be a decent sized shawl. What I also wanted to bring up now is, so you can see that we're only increasing along the one side, and that's how that's going to end up looking. And another thing I wanted to point out was whichever color you start with is going to be the dominant color, and whichever color you finish with is going to be kind of eaten up into these stitches. So for example, I begun with the lightest color, and that is the overall color of this pattern. It does give the impression that it changes colors at different angles, which is a really cool technique as well, or a really cool effect of this technique. But yeah, if you really look up here, you can see the dominant color is actually the lightest color, and the grayest color, the darkest color, which I used last, is somewhat swallowed up in here and you can't really see it. But yeah, this is what it looks like. And I'll come back and explain to you how to finish it off when we're done. Okay, so I have now knitted out a full triangle. We have along the sides, those are all the sides where we did no increases. This side here is where we did all the increases, and that is the live stitch line. And if you look here, that is all the yarn I have left. This is all I have left of the first color. This is the second color and this is the third, so good to know that's how it's going to eat that up. And based on this, I can already tell that it's time to cast off. So what I'm going to do now is just do as many rows of garter stitches as I can, using all three of them held together. And then we're going to cast off when I've run out of this color using just these two colors. So now I'm just going to do a row of garter stitches, no increasing. And we're holding all three rows together while we're doing that. And that's the typewriter shawl. This pattern is going to be completely free because A, I've provided a full tutorial on how to use it, and B, I really want it to be something that you could explore without feeling any pressure. A chance to try a new technique, a chance to play with color and texture, and just enjoy the process of knitting something completely different. You can find the written pattern over on my website, arlyknits.com. And if you do knit one, I would absolutely love to see it. So please feel free to tag me in any posts that you make on Ravelry, on Instagram, anyway. And yeah, if you are still here, thank you so much for joining me. If you haven't subscribed, could you take a chance to do that? It really does help me out. Liking the video and yeah, maybe a little comment. See you soon in the next one.